Hello everyone, Michael Rader here, and welcome to the very first domainerIQ video chat. I'm thrilled you're joining us today as we kick off what I hope to be a series of insightful and fun conversations for our domain community. For this inaugural session, I'm joined by a special guest who's well known in the domaining world. Sten Lillieström is the CEO of nextventure.com, a top seller, or I should say the top seller on adam.com, and a dedicated advocate for domain investors. He's also got an incredibly interesting background studying linguistics and anthropology, working as a radio journalist for years, and then turning his passion for language into a successful domaining career. So today we're going to be talking about domaining, brandable domains, and the art and science of naming. Thank you so much for being here. If you're new to domainerIQ.com, this community is a place for both beginners and seasoned domainers to learn, share, and grow together. Now let's just dive into our conversation with Sten and explore the world of domain names and the people behind them. Sten, you and I go way back, man. I remember when, was it I that recruited you from Brandbucket to go to Brandroot?
That may have been the case. I think I saw some post on perhaps Name Pros, if I remember correctly. I think you may have had something to say in that case.
Yeah, I actually looked you up in my email, and one of the first emails I have of you is you signing up for Brandroot in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
And then there were some other discussions about our sales going down on Brandbucket. And anyway, it's awesome getting to finally meet you in person and seeing you in person. I feel like we kind of grew together. We kind of had similar sized portfolios at the time.
For sure, yeah. And it's kind of strange that we haven't, spoken live because, we sold, the way I see it, we sold hundreds of domain names together for a period of several years. So
yeah, we did. Do you remember the size of your portfolio when you started on Brandroot?
I'm not sure. I'm guessing, but I think it may have been around 3,000 at that point.
Okay, so you were already pretty large. Do you remember when you first started buying brandable domains?
I actually, dipped my toes on domains in 2010 for the first time, when the Columbia CCTLD, the .co launched, and they had some kind of heavy marketing campaign, and we're launching it like a generic extension, and I kind of bought into that and purchased, I think, around 100 three-letter domain names under .co. And I also purchased very bad search keyword domain names. Then that didn't really pan out, and I kind of stopped looking at domains and got back into domains around 2014, looking at Brandables instead.
Let's just jump right into a few of these questions I have for you. So you shared that the first half of 2024 brought 55 sales, down from 75 in the same period in 2023. How are things going now, and have you seen any recovery?
Well, I'm not sure of the current numbers. I think I sent them to you, but I have already forgotten them. So if you have access to them, that would be great. But I think it's around the same levels as 2024. Perhaps a bit less, perhaps a bit more, but when we speak of dollar volume, I think it's about the same. So 2023 was a better year for selling.
Okay, so you've studied linguistics and anthropology. How does that formal study of language influence the way you judge a name currently?
It was a long time ago, and I don't have a degree, but I have a keen interest, in linguistics, and anthropology is not really relevant, I think, in this case, but linguistics really is, and I think it's the case that when you sell domain names, when you buy and sell domain names based on their name qualities and nothing else, you want to kind of learn how to understand how that is really possible, and I think that linguistics helps doing that. And so it's a way of understanding, I think, something that you do kind of intuitively. I've always done this very intuitively, but to understand what's going on, like under the hood, you have to really, yeah, delve deep into what's going on in terms of linguistics. And so I think I've learned many things. The way that morphemes work, what semantics are, what phonetics are, and all of those things combined, I think, make you more likely to make better decisions overall. So it's an overall increase in knowledge and an overall increase in output, if you will.
And I've read a few of your linguistic articles. You go extremely deep into the deep end on that stuff, and I just absolutely appreciate the way you write about names and words and just language in general. Because when I started Brandroot, I set out to become an authority in the space, and my way of doing that was starting a blog and writing tons of articles about how to name your business, what certain sounds mean, what certain prefixes and suffixes mean for your domain name and things. But I never got quite as deep as you get. I remember reading that name pros article you had with Bob Hawks, and man, I just absolutely enjoyed it. How you talked about how we create terms and words on the fly, these like compound words. I'm still trying to wrap my head around what you were saying. I talked to you a little bit about it. But anyway, on this topic, how would you personally define a truly brandable name in one sentence or two sentences?
It's kind of impossible, but let me try. I think that what you need in a good brandable name or a good brand name in general is two things. You need something that is familiar to people, that they can, understand or connect to, or some aspect of something that they have already had some kind of knowledge about. So branding needs to be familiar in some way, but it also needs to be novel in some way. It needs to have some kind of new aspect or thing or sound or something like that, so that people recognize it, that it stands out. So you need to both have the familiarity and the novelty. And this is something that scientists in marketing write about. It's something that linguists write about and try to understand how that works. But it's difficult. But those are two things I think really matter much in a domain name.
That's a great answer. Thank you. Next question is, and I'm really curious about this one too, because you seem to solely focus on brandables and you call yourself a brandable fundamentalist. Why do you think so many beginners still chase backlinks and SEO instead of focusing on the name itself?
I think it's probably because of, legacy. And if you search for information about domain names and the value of domain names, these are the things that are going to pop up. And those are the things that you're going to incorporate into your strategy. Like you learn from others that have already done this and tested this, and then you try it and perhaps it works. And why should you change something that works? So it's a trampled path and the most traveled path. Because it's probably the only thing that people know when it comes to value in domain names, then that is what it's going to be.
And I totally agree with you. That's the path I took. I look at the name. If it's pronounceable, the main test I do when I consider domain is, do I feel something? Like as simple as that. Like when I read it, first off, can I read it? Is it pronounceable? Is it brief? And then do I feel something? It can incite a number of emotions, and some domains just simply don't. They're bland. They're extremely generic. They cannot be branded. On this topic, I'm curious. You see that people are making money in generic investments, like generic domain investments, single words, real boring terms. I mean, do you ever get tempted to move in that space just as an investment venture?
I already tried it, as I said, in 2010. And that was a point in time when search keyword terms were actually still meaningful in the terms of Google search and all of that. But I still didn't sell a lot of domain names. That could have been, of course, because of the extension. But I purchased pretty, so-called hot keywords, and I didn't sell anything, not even a nibble. So that made me kind of pivot, I think. And in 2014, as we said, I found, of course, Brandbucket, because they were, the biggest brandable seller, perhaps almost the only one for a period of time. And I was very intrigued, when I saw the logos and the different kinds of names they were selling on there. So that kind of triggered me. And the first sales I had were actually, hand registrations. So I conjured up some name that I thought was probable to sell, and I put it on Brandbucket, and I sold, I think I had 5 on Brandbucket at that time, early time. I sold one in a couple of weeks, hand registration for, I think, 3,000 or something like that, and of course, that takes a hold of you when you find success so quickly. And after that, I just kept my focus on Brandables.
Let's move on to the next one. So what criteria do you think beginners overlook the most when evaluating a domain name?
The problem is the criteria when it comes to Brandables. I think people overemphasize criteria and proxy metrics and confuse them with value. But that is not what I have found to be the case. I only look at the name, and I've sold, over 1,000 domain names, and it's the only thing that I do at this time.
So you're full-time domaining. You've been all in for how long now?
Around the time of COVID, I quit my job for a 1-year vocational study of IP law in relation to, it's called paralegal. So you learn broadly about IP and trademarks and how they work, and patents, and also a wee bit about domain names and domain name law, because I was interested in that. So, and after that, or should I say during that period when I studied for a year, I also built up the portfolio greatly. I think I perhaps doubled the amount of domain names I had. So it was also kind of an excuse, to both do some studies and learn something, but also focus on adding more domains to the portfolio, which I couldn't do, working full time, not at that level anyway. So
awesome. And your brokerage next venture, right?
Yep.
How is that going?
It's going okay, but the leads aren't really coming in from the website, or I haven't seen much of leads coming in from LinkedIn or wherever I'm active on social media either. So I have these connections with brand management companies and branding agencies and so on, and they always have clients that would like to purchase a domain name that is perhaps taken or perhaps on the aftermarket. And so I help these companies as a consultant to get their clients the domains they need. And it's almost the amount for the domain names purchased per month almost always is kind of equal to the sales I make. So I probably buy for clients around 5, 6, 7 domain names per month in different price points. So I purchase domain names on the sites that I also use as a seller. For instance, I purchased a domain name for around 50K on Atom around a month ago.
So along with these plans with Next Venture, do you have any other plans to move into other verticals in domaining?
Well, no, I don't think so. Not if you don't have a great idea.
Man, maybe you and I should start our own venture in some way. I would love to meet you in person though first. Maybe I could
Sure.
fly out to Sweden. Sweden, right?
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm in Gothenburg. Where are you? Texas?
Yeah, we're in Texas, but I'd rather go see you. That'd be a vacation for me and my wife. I was telling my wife last night, I was like really looking forward to meeting you. I'm a huge fan, dude. I feel like you're at where I should have been. I took a break, I stepped away, and I started venturing in other dumb things. And now I'm back in domaining again, where actually kind of my true passion lies. I love the creativity in naming. But
It
anyway,
has its downsides, but I think that upside is bigger.
yeah, absolutely. So let's get on to a few creative questions, if you don't mind. So what's your favorite way to spark new name ideas when you're stuck or not feeling creative? Or do you even do that? What's your process of
I
coming up?
actually don't do that. I did that when I started out, and that worked. But for some reason, I think it's kind of sufficient with the. I look at it as kind of crowdsourcing. I don't have to do the inventing part. I just have to assess what's available, and that is also creative, but it's not creative work starting from zero. But instead, you can, I mean, look at what's available and assess it from there. I think that to just invent names and I think it would be take too much time and be too difficult.
And I totally agree with you. I don't do that either. I don't use any
No,
creative tool. I assess names based on like what's expiring or
it's very difficult. I think there are people that are successful doing it, and I applaud them. But I don't think it's valued for money versus time.
next question. Have you ever had a name you thought was great, but validation checks completely changed your mind about it?
The thing about validation is also kind of gets into what we've been talking about, or what I've been saying about, data points and proxy metrics, because you would need to have some kind of blueprint for what a good name is if you were going to assess afterwards if something is good or not. Of course, I enjoy, when I register something, perhaps even hand register something, and then you can see that there is one business popping up and there's another business popping up, and this name gets adopted, and that is kind of the point for me. I'm not looking for names that have great traffic. I'm not looking for names that a lot of people use, like kind of the premium thought in domaining. I'm looking for names that can get that traction, because then I can get them for cheap and they can well, hopefully skyrocket value.
Good answer. Same as what you kind of said before, and I agree completely. With so many registrars available, what's the biggest mistake you see new domainers make when registering domains?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I understand the question. I think there's always been, not always, not in the early days, but there's always been many options where you can register domain names, and all of them have almost been working almost in the same way.
Do you buy at all the different registrars based on price? Do you try to stay more organized on one registrar?
I always consolidate, and at this point I use GoDaddy most of the time. I'm sad to say, actually, because I don't think they are pushing the envelope when it comes to brandable domain names. I don't think they have ever understood them, and it works because buyers know what GoDaddy is, and perhaps they have an account, and that kind of smoothens out the process.
So if there's a deal going on, like the $5 deal, I think they had at Dynadot, do you not go over there and start registering domain names?
No, I don't bulk register. I've never. Yeah, I think I may have done that in the early days, but I don't do it anymore, because it's kind of, I think it's dangerous. Okay, if this is cheap, then I can get something that is maybe not as good. I'm afraid that this mentality is going to take hold when I see these offers. So I try to okay. It's good that they offer cheap domains, but I don't really care.
That's a really insightful perspective, because I did recently go to Dynadot and started registering way too many domains at their $5 deal. And man, just like you said, my discipline just kind of, I forgot my discipline and started registering a lot of crap domains that I know I'm going to let expire. Wish I was as disciplined as you were. That's a good answer.
It's a good rule of thumb. It's not mine, but if you can't see yourself holding on to a domain name for at least 5 years, then I don't think it's should be an option at all, even if it's 1 cent.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm more of a GoDaddy maxi, I guess, too. The bulk of my domains, I think 5,000 are all at GoDaddy. And just recently I started going to Dynadot. So we're also the same in that regard.
Yeah.
Okay, so on to marketplaces. How do you decide which marketplace is the right fit for a particular name? Or are you all in on one?
I'm all in on one. So I'm kind of an all-in person, I think. Because I've chosen to just solely focus on brandable names, then there aren't many options, there's Brand Bucket and there's Atom, and I chose Atom. And if I had several marketplaces, I think it would complicate, management of the entire thing, and perhaps even relations to the different marketplaces. So yeah, I'm all in.
So you went from Brand Bucket to Brandroot, and then I think, and then you went back to Brand Bucket because Brand Bucket bought me out, and then you went to Atom.
Yes. Yeah.
And I actually found a conversation you and I had, you saying, what do you think about moving all of our domains to Squad Help? Because I did a test there and I'm successful. And I have another conversation that was happening on the side of that from Margot. And she was like, it looks like we might be losing Sten. Can you help us keep him?
Yeah, cool.
You're very disciplined, so this will be a good question for you. What's one piece of portfolio discipline you wish you had learned earlier in your domaining career?
It's not buying stuff that you are not feeling sufficiently confident will sell, actually. There's this expression called spray and pray that's been used for domainers that they can't see the difference between something that is not sufficiently sellable and something that is. And I guess that's the skill that you earn and kind of work up during the time that you work in the field. But I think that's the advice regarding discipline. Don't buy domain names that you don't think that you don't think will sell.
I've heard that too just recently, and I'm getting back in, and I didn't hear that before. Does that mean just picking up tons of domains and just praying that one of them hits?
Yeah, I think it's partly describing, the bulk registration mentality. Like, okay, it's super cheap, I can buy anything, and perhaps something sells. That's not a business strategy. And it's also, for me at least, it has been common for quite successful brandable domainers to kind of go off the rails when they are successful and overextend themselves and suddenly buy domain names that they wouldn't have purchased earlier, but because they are successful, then they buy a lot of crap, and the whole thing could collapse, and sometimes does.
All right, just two more. What's the most effective outbound approach you've ever seen or used yourself, or do you do any outbounding at all?
Don't do any outbounding at all because of two reasons. I tried it once, I did some hard work outbounding, the best domains in terms of adoption, where there is an obvious, upgrade possibility for some company that actually has money. So I did that, did the research, reached out, and it didn't pan out to nothing. I mean, I didn't sell one domain name from 1 week's work doing that. And I think the reason is that you're undermining yourself. When you are the one reaching out to someone and saying, hey, do you want to buy this? You're already, kind of giving up on the price. When it comes to domain names, buyers are going to buy when they feel the need to buy. And if they get some kind of outside apropos about upgrading their domain name, they're immediately going to think either you're a squatter or you're going to sell it for cheap or something like that. So I just stopped doing it, and I don't think I will do it again.
That's actually a really good answer. I've never heard it put that way, that you're undermining yourself. That's so true. It's almost like you're a salesman at a mall approaching people that are busy doing their things. Very rarely does anyone stop and want to talk to someone trying to peddle to them like that.
Yeah. It can also, there's a legal aspect to this as well, that if there could be or is some kind of trademark that could have some kind of merit with your registration, then reaching out could actually be, shooting yourself in the foot in that. I have never had a UDRP proceeding, but I'm very interested in how it works and why. But that's another.
Yeah, you wrote about my UDRP case. I appreciate you defending me a little bit on that.
Yeah, it was a strange one.
All right, just to wrap up, if you had to give just one piece of advice to someone starting out today with Brandables, what would it be? Actually, not just starting out with Brandables, there's a lot of people that don't speak English very well, don't understand English, and when they look at Brandables or these double keyword Brandables, they're like, why are you buying these? They make no sense. And I think there's a big language barrier there.
I guess learn English on that. But I think that there are, successful brandable domain investors that don't have, I don't have English as a first language. It's a second language, and it's never going to be, I'm never going to be as good at it as my first language. But I think that language that could probably be overcome if you have the interest and inclination and motivation to really look into things and try them out. But the best advice or the advice I would give to someone starting out, I think, is don't overextend yourself. Don't think that you can sell anything because it's listed on a marketplace. And but also, believe in yourself. Believe in that you will be able to find some kind of angle and be able to, assess what a good name is and what a worse name is, and what can sell and what probably won't. That's just the core of domain investment to me. So if you like it, keep going and trust yourself and test things. Then you're going to, I think, do fine.
Thank you so much, Sten. I am just deeply appreciative of you coming here to chat with me. And I do really hope I get to visit you someday. I want to meet you in person. I don't know how that'll look or when, and I want to send you an invite to domainerIQ. I don't know if you want to join, and hopefully maybe you can give some feedback to all these newer brandable investors.
If there are discussions about brandables, I'm not sure I will be able to stay away.
Well, thank you so much, Sten. I'll talk to you later, and I'll see you around, man.
Yeah, great. Have a good day.